Okay, so this is the case of inefficient capital markets. So this assumption of is eliminated, that there's efficient capital markets. So this means there's asymmetric information in the market. So what this basically means is the manager of the company, they know everything. So they know whether the company is going to be in a good state or a bad state, or they know if the product is going to be good quality or low quality. And what they care about is only about the old shareholders. So they care about their shareholders' value. Yeah, so the assumption of maximizing shareholders' wealth remains, and they trust in them, so that's kind of their link. Now, the new shareholders for which they're planning on issuing equity for, they know that the managers know everything, and the managers also know they know everything. So because they know the manager know everything, they kind of suspect that they will have unfair pricing for them. So we'll see how they kind of demand more equity in return of this. So there's three cases. One case is that certain case, so it's like deterministic NPV. So we definitely know that this is going to be the state next year and this is how much we're going to get. And symmetric information, so both the managers and new shareholders, there's no conflict. The second one is we don't know if it's going to be a good what's going to happen next year. So it's going to be good state, bad state, but still symmetric information, there's no conflict. And the third one is the main one we're going to examine, and using this second one we're going to compare between the two and see how they ultimately demand higher equity. So the first case, so assets in place, well, this is the information we will be given. Assets in place is what the old shareholders, they already have. Yeah, so this is how much they have and they own this. NPV is what we expect to get in reward of the project that we're investing in, and new equity is the same for all the cases. We just want to raise £100, and so the value is given by just summing all of them up, and this is the value. Now if we're saying that we're going to be issuing equity, we're basically saying that we're giving these the green people are the new shareholders, we're giving them 100 out of the 270, so we're giving them 37% stake, and therefore what the remaining shareholders have, the pink people, they have 63%. So what we need to see in this case is this efficient? So is this what they want? So for the shareholders, if we do that 37% of 270, it gives us 100. So that means that yes, I want 100, that's what I'm here for, and I'm getting that. For the old shareholders, what they want is that they want to retain this 150 that they have, that they own, but they also want to benefit from the NPV. Otherwise, they don't think there's any need of issuing the equity, because what happens if they issue more equity, the shares get diluted anyway. So they're sharing the same firm value among more people. So they will see that, okay, if this NPV is now in my, if I own this, then okay, go ahead with the project. So if we do 63%, which is the remaining 100 minus 37, 63% of 270, we get 170, which means they get 150 plus the additional NPV. So they're happy. So it's an efficient market. It's perfect because it's symmetrical information. Now two comes. So now, as I said, you're going to have a good and bad state. So now the information is given and assets in place, as we assume. In the bad state, we're going to have less assets in place. So this could be because there's just been anything. It could be bankruptcy costs, it could be any financial distress of the firm, which is why now they only have 150 assets in place. And the NPV is 10, so it's lower. New equity, as I said, always remains the same. They want to issue 100, and the value is now 160. So now when we have these kind of things, like we did for all the expected cash flows, how we did for the expected value, we take the probability, and it says in the question it's 50%. So we do 50% of each, so the expected value is 215. In the same way, we see, okay, I'm giving you 100 of 215, so that means I'm giving you 46.5%. They're happy because they're going to get the 100. Are they happy? Yes, they're still happy because they're going to get they're still going to get what they expected out of this, right? So they're going to get an additional amount on top of the assets they already have in place. Now what happens is I'm going to go to asymmetric information. So now what happens is the managers know whether what they're going to go into. So as we figured out in this good state 270, bad state 160, so what happens is they know that if they're going to retain 46.5%, that means all shareholders 53.5%. So now it's more pink. We're only focusing on the old shareholders. How the managers think, how does this affect my shareholders that I already have? I only care about them. So they're going to think, okay, well, if I give them 53.5%, if it's in a good state and I've given them this much stake, then they get 144. If we're in a bad state and I give them this much stake of 53.5%, they get 86. Now they're thinking, okay, but what did they already have in place? So what they already had in place was they had 150 and they had 50. Now from 150, if they go to 144, that's bad. So they're not going to choose to issue. If they go from 50 to 86 in the bad state, then that's good. So they're saying, okay, in the bad state, yes, I will issue equity because I will raise my existing shareholders' value. But in the good state, I will prefer to not issue equity because they're just going to have less than what they already have, right? So it's going to dilute it, basically. I'm going to give my firm, ownership to some other people, which will be bad for them. So they're not going to do that. So now what happens is, as I said, these new shareholders know that they know what's going to happen. So they're saying, oh, what's the catch now? Because if they're issuing equity, this means the firm's in the bad state. So now what they did, okay, is you told me you're going to give me 46.5%, but I know that your firm is not going to be valued 270 now, so that's not fair for me as in 215 because that's not fair for me. Now it's going to be 160 and you know that. So they say, okay, you know what? I demand more. So I want 100 of the 160, so I want 62.5%. So I want more because your firm's value is very less. So I need more of the stake for me to give my money to you. So now the managers think, okay, again they're going to think about the old shareholders. Okay, say if I did give them the 62.5% now that they're demanding for it because they've realized that I was being unfair to them. Now they think 100 minus 62.5%, I need to give my shareholders 37.5%. Yeah, so first they were giving 53.5%, now I have to give less. Now they're thinking, okay, what should I do? So now they're gonna be doing 37.5% and they're gonna think, what should I do? So 37.5% of 160, if they're in the bad state, gives them 60. So 60 is more than what they were originally receiving of 50. So they're like, okay, I will give you 60 in the bad state, but in the good state, 37.5% gives us 101.5, which is less than what they already had. So what they decide, okay, if I'm in the bad state, I will allow this to happen, right? So now they're thinking, okay, now what can I do? Well, the expected value, if I allow to this, now gives me 0.5 times the 50% of each. So either 50% I'll give them 60 because I agreed to this, or 50% 150 because I didn't agree to this and I'm going to retain their 150. This gives my old shareholders 105 wealth. But what happened actually in reality is if they had symmetric information, then their old shareholders would have done 50% of 170. Why? Because 150 plus 20, they would have got this if they carried out the project, if the NPV was still in existence. And 50% of 60, 50 plus 10. So this was 115, but now they're only doing 105. So they're actually, this is a £10 loss. So in the whole kind of game that they were trying to play, not only were they unfair to the new shareholders, but even the old shareholders are actually worse off by this asymmetric information problem.